I went on a little weekend away about 4 years ago or so to Bruges. Not really knowing anything about the town. I heard it was pretty, but I didn't really know anything other than that. So I booked into a hotel, started walking around the town, and was surprised, I guess, and stunned by how beautiful it was. At the same time, after 2 or 3 hours, I was starting to get a little bit bored. So it's like two sides of my brain were arguing with me. One, finding this place so stunningly attractive, and the other half being bored out my head.
You coming up?
Oh, what's up there?
The view.
The view of what? The view down here? I can see that from down here.
He kind of took those two sides of his own perspective and split them into two characters, Brendan's character and my character. Brendan's character, who kind of loves it from the get-go, gives it a good old chance, you know, decides when in Bruges, do what the Brugians do, and, you know, just loves doing the tourist thing, getting the boat ride on the canal and all that kind of good stuff, and the swans and all the Gothic architecture, and myself, who just can't really stand it.
Do you think this is good?
Yes, I do.
It's like a bad marriage. These two guys don't get on very well. And so that's how it opens up. A discussion about the merits or demerits of Bruges.
Bruges is a shithole.
Bruges is not a shithole.
Then I thought, why would two guys who didn't want to be there have to be there?
It's a bit fucking over elaborate, isn't it? Go take him to hide out in fucking Bruges.
So that's where the original germ of the story came from.
It is a bit over elaborate.
I'd met Colin maybe a year before this project was starting to happen, just socially. Then I wrote a script, and from the outset, he was really, really interested in. I don't think it's anything he'd quite done before.
You don't really read pieces that are as original as this. You know, people talk about every story kind of having its origin or genesis in one of 3 stories, but this is like nothing I've ever read before. Yeah, it's pound for pound the best thing I've ever read.
I thought you didn't like Bruges.
I don't like Bruges. It's a shithole. But I did already say I had a date.
There's something quite childlike about the Ray character. He's kind of dangerous, but he's got a beautiful spirit as well. And he's just a very sad, mixed-up guy who doesn't adhere to any of the sort of PC notions that we might. Not because he's trying to tack anything, just because that's the way he is.
There's never been a classic movie made in Bruges until now.
Of course there hasn't. It's a shithole.
Bruges is my hometown, right?
Well, it's still a shithole.
Ray's dislike, a distaste for the city isn't so much about the city itself as about what he's gone through, you know, what he's just come from, the tragedy that he's just been directly involved in and created as a result of his own actions, which, of course, was blowing the head off a 6 or 7-year-old child, which isn't going to bode well for any weekend trip anywhere, I don't think, you know.
Kill the little boy.
You didn't mean to kill a little boy.
I know I didn't mean to.
There's a definite innocence and a definite purity to the characters that are represented in the film. And I mean, these are characters that earn their livings bringing death to other people's doorsteps.
You know, at the same time, I was trying to lead a good life. I have to reconcile myself with the fact that, yes, I have killed people.
Brendan was the lead in Martin's short that he won his Oscar for, so they could sort of go back and have a relationship. There's something in Brendan that's wonderfully warm-hearted, and he plays in the film a sort of older, warm-hearted hitman, if that's not a contradiction in terms. And they're great as a sort of odd couple duo.
What am I going to do, Ken?
Learn a new language, maybe?
Sure, I can hardly do English.
The fact is that they're all too human, and the really disturbing thing about bad human behaviour is not that it's inhuman, it's that the fact that it is ultimately very human, totally human. And therefore, to be human in the everyday, to be quite nice, to be opening the door for people or trying to help somebody with their shopping, all of those things can still occur while this massive inhuman instinct or this dark human side is there. So I guess that's what the challenge of playing Ken is. You got to be brave about the fact that nice people can kill.
Sorry, Ray.
And that nice people can do horrible things. It's not always the monsters.
You're going to do it, aren't you?
Of course I'm going to fucking do it. It's what I do.
I think you really do care for each and every character. Rafe's character included, who on paper one would think is so animalistic in his approach to a lot of things and is so violent and aggressive. But there's also an incredible nuance to the character and level of humanity and almost, dare I say, decency. And just funny as well, that you have an affinity for even Rafe's character, Harry.
What Rafe and I talked about before shooting was that we didn't want it to be a type of gangster we've seen 100 times before.
Now, you lot be good for your mummy in Imamoto, okay? Because Daddy's got to go away for a few days.
He has a very particular code of honour. I think he's the sort of man that you're either with him or against him. If you break your word, you're out. If you don't come through for him, you're out.
If his world order is disturbed, he goes crazy.
He cares very much about his kids as well. He loves his kids and he loves kids in general, like, more than anything.
If I had killed a little kid, accidentally or otherwise, I wouldn't have thought twice. I'd have killed myself on the fucking spot.
That's kind of why everyone gets into the trouble they're into.
I suppose it is about a reckoning. And he's the man who's going to balance the books in his moral universe, which is quite a violent one, really.
Little boy! That's right, Ray. The little boy.
He really comes across as the bad guy when they should all be in a classic movie. They're three gangsters, they're killing people. And that's the beauty of it, really. It's the fragility and their humanity.
In Clement's character, Chloe, again, another slightly lost soul. She's a drug dealer who rips off tourists in Bruges, pretends to sleep with them. When all those things stack up to make you think, ooh, not sure I'd like her. But the minute you see her on film, you love her, you want to be with her, she's great. And we want her to find, with Ray, something extraordinary. Again, good writing.
How did you get past the security man?
Getting past security men. Sort of my job.
You're a shoplifter.
No, I'm not a shoplifter. It's a good joke, though.
I think she's the only positive aspect of Ray's life at that point.
I'll tell you what I am at dinner tomorrow night.
When I think of the scene in the restaurant, the first date between Chloe and Ray, God, they're both completely honest with each other. But at the same time, they're saying the biggest thing you could actually throw to someone on a first date. So what do you do, Raymond?
I shoot people for money. So what is it you do, Chloe?
I sell cocaine and heroin to Belgian film crews.
Do you?
And that honesty becomes something surreal, something that makes them unconventional, really. And I guess the honesty all through the script between the characters makes them special.
I just knew someone like you would never like someone like me. Oh, God. I just knew.
What do you mean someone like me?
You know, someone nice. She is supplying Jordan's character, Jimmy, with copious amounts of drugs. Enough to put a fucking giant down, never mind a little man. Why didn't you wave hello to me today when I waved hello to you today?
I was on a very strong first tranquilizer today. Wasn't waving hello to anybody. He's a little person actor working in Bruges, which is similar to my own experience, although not exactly the same. I mean, we have some similarities, Jimmy and I, but he's got certain opinions and attitudes and angers that I don't necessarily tap into or feel connected to. So that's part of the joy of playing this character, is exploring someone that's somewhat like myself, so I have something to draw on, but not entirely like me, so that I'm actually going somewhere, exploring something. You don't know how much shit I've had to take off of black midgets, man. His anger, his bizarre theories on race relations and how the world's going to turn out, and his penchant for addiction and being around women adds to that surreal nature of this experience for the two leads.
You two are weird. Would you like some cocaine? I've also got some acid and some ecstasy.
So we have a very brief interaction, but it's scenes that I'm very proud of, and the film just really wouldn't be the same without them. And that's not a compliment to me so much as it's a compliment to Martin's writing.
It depends on the person watching how far you take the things behind the characters. But Marie, she's completely pregnant, 8 months, and she does represent the promise, hope, and the good thing in this dark, funny movie and story.
There's an interesting scene yesterday where Ken looks in to see Marie, the owner of the hotel, who's pregnant. She's putting up things on a Christmas tree. And there's a feeling that he really likes her. And he's that much away from being able to engage with her properly. You know, that other side of life in terms of the happiness, the joy, the innocence of all that, the hope of it. Hope, really, more than anything else. But it is that much, that near and that far away. It's so near, so far away.
For me, the scene where I'm not in, where Ken reads the little note, it's one of my favorite scenes for the character, because it's such a strong thing to do, to write that little note.
I'm sorry about the message last night. The man who left it is a bit of a...
Cock.
Yes, he's a bit of a cock.
Each character is looking for answers and looking for a way to exist within the world, you know? And Rafe's character has a great line where Brendan's trying to tell Rafe's character that I'm depressed.
The boy is suicidal, Harry. He's a walking dead man.
And Harry says, I'm depressed, you're depressed, everybody's fucking depressed. Everybody's suicidal, that's what he says.
But we don't all keep going on about it. Has he killed himself yet? No. So he's not fucking suicidal, is he?
He put a loaded gun to his head this morning. I stopped him.
I don't know what the comment the piece is supposed to have on the world or existence, but I just do know that these characters, even involved in the world that they're involved in, kind of the underworld, that there's just an incredible amount of humanity to them all.
This fella, Danny Alaban's brother, was just trying to protect his brother, like you or I would. He came at me with a bottle. What are you going to do? Shot him down. The value of Martin's work is that, however apparently inhuman the behaviour, what we find is that we can't just disconnect and dismiss and despise. We have to actually engage with these people.
I've seen a lot of gangster films, as we all have, guys shooting guns, 100 bullets a minute. And I always wondered what happens to all those stray bullets, what happens when supposedly decent men do things that they have to face and feel guilty about. So I wanted to, as well as it being a black comedy, to address some of those issues. It's not an issue-based film, but there's a depth to it that I like.
I won't get out of your way. You'll have to go through me.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to go through you, am I, with your baby and that? I'm a nice person.
I do really think it speaks in a way about violence today and about, for me especially, about the nonchalance. Is that an English word? The nonchalance in violence, and how you see with these characters, they feel the effects of having done acts of violence.
Harry, swear not to start shooting until she's left the hotel.
Right.
That way we leave this lady and her baby out of the whole entire thing.
And I think that's really, really a good thing.
Not gonna risk having another little kid die, am I?
I don't think anybody in the world really escapes their past, I think you can learn to deal with your past, you can put it to rest, and you can move on from it, but you can't escape it.
I see.
You can never fully leave it behind. And that's very, very apparent in this. The past comes back to haunt everyone. Some pasts more recent than others.
The change that happens in Ken is that suddenly the interaction with Ray allows him to see that it is possible to think in another way. And it allows Ken to get off the hook in a way.
Just go away somewhere. Get out of this business and try to do something good.
Because he had begun to believe that the only way was Carrie's way, and Ray allows him to see a sense of hope.
Boy, I had to be given a chance. If to do that, I had to say, fuck you, fuck what I owe you, and fuck everything that's gone between us. Then that's what I had to do. But I'm not going to fight you.
And that, in turn, liberates himself to begin to hope again. And so you kind of go into some odd place where there is redemption of some nature. So there is, it's a tremendously optimistic movie in a lot of ways. It's actually quite romantic in a lot of ways. Beautiful in a really disgusting sort of way. Did you see that state of me when I hit the ground?
I never thought I'd get to make a film. So I only had the pressure of trying to have my first film be as good as it could possibly be. If I'd made one bad film, I'd definitely go away forever, back to the theatre with my tail between my legs. But happily, it's worked out okay, I think.